Okay, we are back again to this 1958 Elgin model 2468 by Viking. And if you've already seen the initial sew-off, where I was humbled a little bit in remembering that if I don't take that cam out, that even if I set the machine, that cam is going to override those settings. And you can see here, because I had the stitch length so long, it started to generate the original pattern that you saw on here, but through very thick leather. So if that stitch length had been shorter, we would have had a pattern much more similar to that. So throwing that to the side and throwing this to the side, what we're going to do next is obviously another sew-off, but instead of just one layer of leather like you saw in this sew-off right here, if I put them side by side, we're going to be doing 2 layers of leather this time. But prior to launching into that, what I wanted to do real quick, because a lot of our buyers have told me it's helpful, is I wanted to give you some measurements of this machine. And we might as well just start talking about the harp space. So from the needle, I'll try to get it as center on the needle as I can, to the pillar, we're looking at, I'm going to try to stretch it, about 7.5 inches. So from needle to pillar in the harp space area, you're looking at about 7.5 inches. From front to back, actually let me turn it around so you can see this end. That might be more helpful to you. Okay, so from front to back we've got about 7 inches as far as width, and then height we have approximately, get that turned around, 5 inches. And if I'm not mistaken, 5 inches as far as that vertical clearance in the harp is the same clearance that we had on the last Viking machine as well, the 19E. You can go back and look at that, because we've already gotten great feedback from that wonderful buyer out of Missouri, and you can look at that as well, just comparatively to give you an idea of the space. And then the bed space, and I won't do the entire bed, I'll do from the end, and let me flip it again, I'm very directionally impaired today, apparently. From the pillar to the end of the machine, you're looking at about 10.5 inches. So this really is a very nice workspace when it comes to doing quilting. The turning in that harp area is just about as big as the last Viking that we listed. So you've got lots of room if you're doing quilting or other work where you've got to do a lot of material turning. Okay, on to our sew-off. And I did take out the cam this time, so we won't get an output like this, although that was pretty doggone impressive through cowhide leather to do a decorative stitch like that. Okay, we're going to make a couple of adjustments. Here we're fine. We've already got it set on 0. Here we've got to make sure it's on 5, and it is. So with that, follow me down to the needle, and we'll see what this incredible Viking engineered model 2468 can do with a sew-off as tough as this. And I'll tell you one thing, this is tough because of the thickness factor. We're basically doubling the leather thickness on this machine. Alright, enough talking. Here's 2 very thick layers of genuine cowhide. Here we go. I'm telling you one thing, if you could see my foot is like barely engaging that foot control. And I could certainly do it a lot slower than that because of the power of this machine, but it is so much fun to throttle up a machine that's engineered by Viking because the power is just absolutely in reserve. And you know what, beyond that, not only do you have the ability to sew through leather like this, like it's a light fabric, but you also get incredible stitch quality. The spacing, the formation. Hopefully I've got that position for the camera just right so you can really see the stitch quality. And as always, we always include our sew-offs for the winner so they can actually look at it and hold it with their own hands. Now look at it again from the side, what we just sewed through. And then remember how ridiculous it was from an effort standpoint for this machine with that 1.3 amp motor. Now there's our lock-in, and you know what? That lock-in, and as I pull it back, is just as gorgeous as that top stitch. You know what? I don't care what you're looking to sew. If you're looking for absolute power and absolute control and absolute decorative stitching with those 24 cams, you can't do any better than this machine.